They gotta figure out someone. Okay, they're ready. Right there. I think they're ready. Okay, go ahead.
Color guard, post the colors.
Fix the eagle. Wait.
Wait for the
Detail. Halt. Left. Face. Freezing. Out.
order.
Huh.
Left. Face.
Order. Out. Left. Face. Forward. Halt.
Okay, everyone, you may be seated. Well, good day, everyone. So glad you're here again this year, a special day of remembrance. My name is John Bouchard. I live in Rehoboth, Mass., and more importantly, a Marine. I served in Vietnam in 1968 and 69, and since then have served in many veterans organizations as commander, adjutant, quartermaster, but feel my most honorable duty was being the chairman of the Attleboro POW-MIA 9/11 Remembrance Committee for the last 26 years. It was a great honor. Today, as we gather here, let us all remember our missing heroes and how, by the grace of God, go you or I. We could be one of them, left in a place we really did not want to be, forgotten, and then just a faint memory of the past, except for the family and close friends. This week, throughout our nation, proud patriots like yourself recognize their service and acknowledge their extreme sacrifice, and to proclaim that we will never, ever forget them. We will present to our communities their story of heroism and duty to our nation. Today, we regenerate ourselves as like many like-minded patriotic people to proclaim our determination, and will demand of our leaders that no one who serves our great country will be left on the battlefield. No one. Because of efforts like this today, this will not stand. Again, it's an honor to be here with you today and to be at this place of remembrance, located in one of the most patriotic cities in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, Attleboro. As we all here realize the saying, all gave some and some gave all, I wanted to share with you some current statistics as our missing heroes from the Department of Defense POW-MIA accounting agency. As of today, this year, in 2025, we recovered 157 World War II veterans from the battlefield. We recovered 55 Korean War vets from the battlefield. We recovered none from the Cold War, And in Vietnam, we recovered 8 from the Vietnam War. The total U.S. soldiers that died in Vietnam was 58,220. I'll repeat that, 58,220. Total unaccounted for from Vietnam, as of today, we have a balance of 1,586 that are still missing. Total missing currently from Massachusetts from Vietnam alone is 39. This wall over here projects who they are, and the stars you see next to the names are the ones that have been returned. We haven't put a star on any of them from Massachusetts in quite some time, by the way. Let us now take a moment of silence for them all. This evening, we will hear from our keynote speaker, Mr. Shane Rio, and also Mr. Keith Jackson, who has been a constant figure over the past years in presenting the tragedy of 9/11. And we will have a candlelight ceremony as well to honor our missing. And my thought today is that if we forget the past, history has a way of repeating itself. Thank you for being here again this year. You are true patriots. Thank you. I'd like to call Megan Del Ventel up to sing the national anthem. Would you please all rise? Hello. Look it up. And what? Breathe it. Oh.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
You may be seated. I'd like to mention also that Megan's son, Tucker, is an Army medic in Germany, and we're hoping to see him soon. Thank you, Megan. I'd like to bring forth the Girl Scouts, Amanda Loco, the Attleboro Girl Scouts, to start the Pledge of Allegiance. Come on up, girls. Please rise.
I
Allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible,
with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, ladies. At this time, I'd like to call Mr. Don Big Daddy Vandal for our opening prayer.
I think they're going to bury me with that title. Lord God, shelter the prisoners of war and those missing in action from the war in the Southeast Asia and those of other wars in Korea, Europe, and in the Far East. Open their hearts and minds of the captors that they may be restored to their homes and loved ones. Each has carried the burden of battles. Each has been subjected to hazard, pain, and imprisonment beyond the destiny of a soldier. O Lord, these gallant men and women who bear so great a burden must not be forgotten nor forsaken. God of justice, whom we pray, your compassion we beseech. Lift their burden, give them strength, and strike the shackles that deny them freedom. Amen.
Amen. Thank you.
So I'd like to welcome everybody tonight. I'm your host for the evening. My name is Julie Hall. I'm a retired Air Force colonel. You know, and for any of you that are aware of what happens in the military, we all poke fun at each other. And one of the jokes about the military, in particular Air Force, in particular officers, is they don't go anywhere without a clipboard. See, I got a few chuckles. People that understood what was going on there. Okay. Before I start, it's really important to remember our past. Many families have gone without the company of a loved one due to the tragedies of war. A father, a brother, a sister, an aunt. In addition to our Vietnam veterans who are killed in action or prisoners of war, who are speaking to us now, let's see. We want to acknowledge all Gold Star families from Attleboro. So any family who has lost a family member in the conflict serving our country is a Gold Star family, and we just want to recognize you. So if there's any Gold Star families out there, please, we just want to say thank you for the ultimate sacrifice that you gave. Okay. We do want to also recognize some of our special guests, and those of you that were here a little bit earlier did see that the Elks Riders came through, and it really is important to them. They did have a conflict today, but they tried to scurry up as many of them as they could get here, and you saw them come through with their flags and so forth. It's really important to them to do that, and they're going to continue to support us. The Elks has been a great supporter of the veterans here. Now we're going to move into our September 11th segment. And I'm going to introduce Captain Keith Jackson. We're honored, as we always are, to have Captain Jackson lead our September 11th segment because of his firsthand experience at the site of the devastation and destruction that was the tragedy of that infamous day. Captain Jackson served side by side on that hollow ground with his fellow firefighters and first responders. In this tragedy, Captain Jackson developed a special bond with his comrades and their families that will never be broken, but he will also harbor haunting memories that will be part of his life forever. It's my distinct honor to welcome Captain Jackson to the podium.
Thank you, Colonel. And I noticed the clipboard is empty, but thank you all for being here tonight. And I would like to begin by acknowledging the POW-MIA 9/11 committee for the work that has been done continuously over the past several years to make sure that we do not forget POWs, MIAs, and of course the victims of 9/11. And I don't tend to write notes, so bear with me, please, but there continues to be victims of 9/11. I think for those of you that were here last year, the body count just of firefighters alone on September 11th was 343 firefighters lost their lives. As of last year, that number had been exceeded by the number of firefighters that have succumbed to illnesses and issues dealing with 9/11. And that number doesn't change. It doesn't go down. Unfortunately, it continues to go up. And it will do so for as long as we're all on this earth. Before I get into it, I want to acknowledge my, we call it, you've probably all seen the band of brothers because you're all patriotic, but I happen to be in a band, the Rhode Island Professional Firefighters Pipes and Drums, and it's an honor for me tonight to acknowledge my friend Rich McDonough, who's the pipe major for our band, who will play Amazing Grace in a little bit. I probably won't be here for that because I do have another engagement to be at, retirement party for a friend, a retired fire chief in a town nearby. But if I could at this time have Bill and Ellen Goodchild join me at the podium. And I would also love to have Joe Parent come up. However, he asked not to. He's feeling a little bit under the weather, and I certainly understand and respect that. But a couple of words. Hi, Ellen. So, Joe and I worked together for many years on the Attleboro Fire Department. Different shifts, probably sometimes different opinions, different attitudes, but through it all we respected each other. And I had the pleasure one day, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Joe, but I think we crossed paths one day down there. I don't know. It was a long time ago now. I was down there for a long time. But I know Joe was down there with a DMAT team out of Rhode Island, so that's Disaster Medical Assistance Team, one of the Rhode Island teams. Joe was there, not only was a firefighter and paramedic, but also a registered nurse. Joe spent some time down there, saw a lot of the same things that I did. Bruce Naslund, who started off as a firefighter in Attleboro, lives in Attleboro today. Unfortunately, during Proposition 2.5, for anybody that's old enough to remember that, Joe got laid off, but he did get rehired in Mansfield and went on to have a long and successful career in Mansfield. And Bruce was part of the USAR team out of Beverly, Massachusetts, which is the Urban Search and Rescue Team, Team Number 1, Massachusetts. Bruce did call me the other day, and he's not able to be here tonight because, like Rich and myself, he belongs to a pipes and drums band, the Greater Boston Firefighters Pipes and Drums, and they're competing up in New Hampshire at the Highland Games, which is kind of a big deal. So he got a pass for tonight, but he sends his regrets for not being able to be here, and if it weren't for that, he would certainly be here. And I'm glad that he's well enough to be up there playing with his group. But again, I don't write things down, but I look around and I observe things, and I recall being contacted by John and Ed Stanton and a few others from the Post about an artifact that was going to be made available, thanks to the hard work and diligence of Ed Stanton, to create a memorial here in Attleboro. So it was going to be expensive, and it was logistically there was a lot to be done. At the time, I bought a Kubota, it's a front end loader with a backhoe, and my wife said, "What the hell are you going to do with that?" I said, "I don't know." So the day after I bought it, she said, "Well, you bought it, so you better come home and do something with it." So I went outside to dig a couple little holes in the backyard, and then filling them in, and dig a couple more and fill them in. But the whole purpose of, I guess, things happen for a reason. But I bought that machine because the whole thing came to fruition when John and the committee talked about being up against it to try to create this memorial here and make it possible so that people in Attleboro and many of the Girl Scouts and any other people, guys on the fire department, police department, some of them now weren't even born when 9/11 happened. Much like myself, born in 1961, 1941, World War II, December 7th, and when we got thrown into it, when I was a kid, that was a lifetime ago. That was my dad's generation, and so for kids today, it's a lifetime ago. One of my granddaughters mentioned the other day, or asked me the other day, about 9/11, and I said, "You'll learn about it at school," And it's not that I didn't want to talk about it; it's because I couldn't talk about it. And I shouldn't talk about it with her because not my place. They'll learn in school. One day she'll come here and she'll learn what this is all about, what this means. What you can't see is when we built this down below here, there are artifacts from the Trade Center site. There are challenge coins. There's memorial cards from my friends who died during 9/11, who died as a result of 9/11. They're in baggies under this concrete. And one day, it may be on Earth, maybe not, but just know that when you come by here, this is more than just a piece of property in Capron Park. This is kind of hallowed ground. And again, thank you all for being here. And they say time heals all wounds, and it does. With time, things get a little bit easier for some people. My friends, Bill and Ellen, myself included, I don't think there's a day that any of the three of us, including the Sainies who couldn't be here, their son Sean was with Lynn on 9/11 to go enjoy a nice vacation. Life changes, life-changing events. And I know I think about it every day, and I know that you do too. And Ellen is probably the strongest person I've ever met in my life, because she has made a choice to celebrate Lynn's life with her family and with her friends rather than grieve about it every day. So as tough as the day as that was, and as tough as it's been every day since then, 24 plus years ago now, we get through it. When we get through it, we promise never to forget. And unfortunately, I think you look around the world, and some people have forgotten, but being down there, and Joe can attest, security was really tight. And I'm gonna call Joe and myself the good guys. So, we'd working, I don't know what shifts Joe was working. We were doing 12-hour tours down there. And so we'd get shipped in. We had off-duty and retired New York City firefighters would shuttle us down. We'd get to security, and you went through God, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 security checkpoints. They had dogs, they had mirrors on sticks under the vehicles, and we're the good guys. But, we'd get in there, we would do our thing and work for 12 hours and see things that you heard about on TV and you might have read about in the newspaper, but there was nothing like being there. Right, Joe? So the song about, I'm trying to think, it's a Vietnam song, but if you think this is something, you should have seen it in color. And that was 9/11. That was the Trade Center. I can only imagine it was the same in Shanksville, the same in DC. You've all heard the stories. Many of you remember where you were, what you did that day, what happened the following days. But to the children that are here, and the young adults that are here now that were children are not yet born then, we should not forget what happened and how strong our nation became as a result of that at that time. And I'll leave it at that, but God bless, Lynn Goodchild, Sean Nassani. Said Pat and Margaret couldn't be here, but if anything good comes out of it, I've become very, very close with Bill and Ellen, and we're lucky to have them as our friends and neighbors here in Attleboro. So thank you very much. At this time, I'll have Ben Quill come up. Julie,
My clipboard.
with you. The invisible clipboard.
Thank you, John. Thank you so much. Thank you, Captain Jackson. Thank you so much. So I'd like to introduce Attleboro's Veterans Service Officer, Ben Quell, and he's going to bring up some of our local dignitaries and just say a few words to us on this subject.
There we go. Hi, good evening. I'm Ben Quell, Army Captain, clipboard. And as we transition over to the military segment of this, I am the Veteran Service Officer. My job here in Attleboro is to help veterans in any way I can. It's a job I'm very proud of. And, this has a lot of meaning to me. I don't know if this is working. Going in and out there, Jim? Can you hear me? Yeah. Okay, sorry. It's tonight that I remember some of the people in my life. Particularly, I like to remember my friend Chris Hughes. He and I grew up together, went to high school together, played football together. He was the quarterback. Chris was the joker, always joking. He was even joking in the huddle with score tied. It wasn't too long, I think it was last year, we did the flag retirement ceremony at the Elks. And those who haven't been in the Elks, they have a beautiful wall with all the names of the victims of 9/11 that went down in the towers. My friend Chris Hughes lost his life in the North Tower, left behind 2 small children, and I took a picture of his name and I Facebooked some of my friends from high school, and immediately my phone started blowing up with all my friends from high school who remembered Chris Hughes. And what a great guy he was, just a funny guy. So this day means a lot to me, I'm sure as it does to you. When we started off tonight, we talked about Vietnam and other battlefields that are still bringing home the dead. And does that work better? This works? No? Sorry. I'll try to talk into the microphone a little better. One of the things I do in my office is I'm in charge of helping Gold Star families. We talk about them all the time, but we have to remember that after 20 years of combat, the illnesses of combat continue. Every month, I process an annuity claim for a surviving spouse of a Vietnam veteran who has died in our city. And this is a Vietnam veteran whose illnesses were contributed by Agent Orange exposure. These combat veterans will never be forgotten. Some of their friends are standing behind you. Vietnam veterans who grew up with them, went to high school together with them. They were boyhood friends, and they have died in this town, and it's my job to make sure that their surviving spouses get all the benefits that they're entitled to. However, in my generation of combat in Iraq and Afghanistan, I'm already seeing an uptick in illnesses, serious illnesses resulting from burn pit exposure. So combat takes its toll long after the cessation of combat is over. I also want to point out that it was on this very day, 9/11 in 2001, the second that the aircraft, I believe it was Flight 77, crashed into the Pentagon. 125 people immediately were killed, 55 of them wore a uniform. The attack on our nation wasn't just an attack on our country, it was an attack on our democracy. The airline that crashed into Pennsylvania, it is well known, was on its route to Washington, D.C. with the intent of crashing into either the Capitol or the White House. Obviously, like in so many other ways, this attack failed, and our democracy not only continued, but it prospered. And to recognize the durability of our democracy, I'd like to call up to the microphone some of our elected officials that are very, very important and imperative to what I do as a veteran service officer. So first, I'd like to call up a representative in Boston that has been representing our community for over 8 years now. He's our state representative. He is in charge of 2nd Bristol, and that is Mr. James Hawkins.
I not only need a lower microphone, I need my notes on the clipboard, Julie. Thank you. This is always an honor to come here on such an important occasion. I want to thank John Bouchard. I want to thank you. I want to thank Keith Jackson, everybody on the 9/11 committee that's made this happen. This doesn't just happen. I'm CC'd on all the emails. I know just how much work you spent on this. I don't know how much work you spent on this, so thank you for doing this. I can think of 9/11 and the horror to the families who lost people in the actual collapse and the firefighters who are still dealing to this day with the after effects of what they were exposed to in that collapse, and it's not going away. And for POW and MIA, the horror of being away from your family and your home on a battlefield and then not coming back to your family is something I can't even wrap my head around. And I want to be especially respectful to the people who are dealing with that and their families. And John is right. We should never forget. So thank you for putting the microphone lower also. But thank you for allowing me to speak every year. Thank you so much.
Okay, now I'd like to introduce to the podium our state senator, again, another 8-year veteran of Beacon Hill. He represents the counties of Bristol and Norfolk, Senator Paul R. Feeney.
Thank you, Ben. Good evening, everybody. We are on sacred ground, so let's say a prayer for this microphone that it gets through the rest of this ceremony. I am honored to be here with you all once again as we gather together in community with each other and for each other. I've had the privilege now for the last 8 years, had the privilege and honor of standing here many times before as the city comes together to reflect on September 11th, and also the heroes that never returned. Each year, however, the weight of this moment doesn't seem to fade or ease in our minds over time. For me, and I know for many of you, the moment feels both heavier and more vital. Steeped in our remembrances as a people are the symbols that mean something so much deeper than their constitution. The piece of steel that Captain Jackson told us about, forged for a simple and unremarkable purpose in its time, yet on that tragic day 24 years ago, it became a symbol not of the hate and the violence that took it to the ground, but of the strength and determination of the people that served. The memory of the souls we lost, the reminder of the families that were shattered, and the resolve of a young nation whose fabric is knitted by the threads of promise and of hope and of freedom. The symbols we see today and the words you hear tonight serve to remind us of the images that we were bombarded with 24 years ago this month, the stories that we heard, the emotions that we felt. Everyday Americans, innocent civilians, brave and selfless first responders stolen in an instant by hatred. We especially honor those brave souls whose last breath was in service to others. And as I say that, I look out at our Attleboro firefighters and thank them for giving of themselves every single day to protect our community, our Commonwealth, and our nature, and to step up when people need them to in our great city. But to truly honor the nearly 3,000 lives lost on 9/11, we must shift our thoughts to the moments that made up their lives, not the one that took it away. They were people with opinions and beliefs, with memories and aspirations, with hope and with fears, with good points and some even with flaws, with values and with ideals. They laughed, they cried, they loved, and they were loved. They were us. They were us. For years to come and until the end of time, it is incumbent upon each generation here in the city of Attleboro and across our nation to say their names, to tell their stories, to gather together and to light a candle and say a prayer to the God of your own understanding in their memory and for our own future. Turning to the symbol of the POW-MIA flag that flies just beside me now today. Again, simple in its presentation, yet it evokes such a deeper meaning. Carrying forward the legacy of those who refused to break, who fought valiantly in unimaginable circumstances, in frightening isolation and torture, with uncertainty, but most of all, with incredible strength. And those that left the embrace of their families and comfort of their community to never return. With ceremonies like tonight in Attleboro, we recommit ourselves, my friends, to that sacred ideal of our nation that we must never forget, and we must leave no one behind. That is who we are as Americans. That is in our DNA. It's what separates us from others across the world. We leave no one behind. No one behind. I'm grateful for all those that give of themselves to bring us together. Ben, Colonel Hall, to everybody involved in this committee that does this year after year. Grateful for the unending service of Attleboro veterans, whose missions may have changed over time since their active service, but whose commitment to something greater than themselves is admirable and unbreakable. Forever grateful to each of you. And for everybody else, to our young people, to our scouts, to everybody here year after year, thank you for being here. Thank you for being you. Keep the lights on for those that have yet to return, and keep the candles burning for those that we lost. May God bless the city of Attleboro. May God bless our Gold Star families and our veterans. And may God bless the United States of America. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Feeney. These next officials I invite to the podium. As I say, my job is to do whatever I can for veterans. I couldn't do my job, I couldn't do anything for veterans without the support of these next officials that I'm calling up to the microphone. Anything I ever need, they give it to me because it's important to them. So first I'd like to start off by by introducing the individual who runs this great city of ours. Herself a proud spouse of a veteran, our duly elected mayor, Kathleen DeSimone.
Thank you, Ben. Thank you, Colonel Hall. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here. Particular thank you and good evening to our military members, our veterans, and our fine public safety professionals represented by the Attleboro Police and Fire Departments. I am honored and humbled to be here with you again this evening. This is truly one of the most meaningful events in the city. We gather in September to honor the devotion and courage of our brave American soldiers who are prisoners of war, and those who served and never returned home. We remember the family members of those held captive and those still missing. They must not be forgotten. We also gather to remember the terrorist attacks of September 11th, 2001, and the heartbreaking and unbelievable courage, heroism, and sacrifice we witnessed, and all those we lost on that day and after. Importantly, in so gathering, we stand together as Americans, as parents, as children, as friends, as neighbors and strangers to remember. And in this moment, our differences do not matter. To paraphrase President Lincoln, though passions of the day may strain, they must not break our bonds of affection. May may our battlefields and fires and the memories of towers falling serve to guide us to be the better angels of our nature. It is my sincere hope that we not only remember the POW-MIA soldiers and the lives lost and forever changed on September 11th today and every day, but that we also remember in so doing to have empathy, to be kind, and to be people of reason, because it is our jobs, for our sake and for those that came before and in our future, to continue to devote ourselves again and again to fulfilling the great promise of America and her people. And we are doing that tonight, friends. Thank you very much for being here. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Okay, now I'd like to call to the podium the president of our legislature, and it's obviously a big deal to me because he approves my budget. So, with that said, I'd like to call up Council President James Delisio, who will also introduce us to some of our other elected officials in the crowd today. Councilman?
Thank you, Ben. I would like to ask all the other elected officials to come join me at the podium, please. Good evening, and thank you all for being here tonight. I'm glad to be joined by members of the school committee, Rob Geddes, Chris Frappier, and my colleagues on the council, Laurie Sawyer, Nick Lavoie, and Councilor Waterman. I'm honored to be here with all of you tonight as we gather in remembrance and reflection. Attleboro is a community that was deeply and personally impacted by the events of September 11th, 2001. In the aftermath of those tragic and unthinkable attacks, Attleboro, like so many states across this nation, found a way to turn pain into grace, despair into hope, and fear into strength. We gather here tonight, together, in this somber setting to pay tribute to those who left home that morning 24 years ago and faced the ultimate evil. But in the face of that evil, it was grace, hope, and strength that ultimately prevailed. Tonight, we come together as friends, as neighbors, and Attleboro's best, to stand united in honoring the heroes of September 11th, the innocent lives that were lost that day, the brave first responders in New York, in Pennsylvania, Washington, D.C., and the courageous men and women who answered the call to serve our country in time of need. We also pause tonight to honor and remember our service members who were prisoners of war or missing in action. We pray that God holds them warm in his embrace and brings peace and comfort to their families and loved ones. In closing, I want to thank the organizers and participants of this important event. Thank you to the committee for reminding us the importance of reflection and remembrance. And thank you, each of you, for being here tonight. May God bless Attleboro, and may God continue to bless the United States of America. Thank you.
Thank you, City Council members. Again, it was so important to have those individuals up here. I know I've said this before, but throughout the entire country, there is no state that provides as much resource and assets to helping veterans and their surviving spouses as the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. So thank you again to all these elected officials that give their time and resources to people like me so I can work on your behalf to make sure that we're properly taking care of those people who took care of us. Thank you again. God bless.
you. Wow, those are really hard act to follow here. Some beautiful, beautiful words. Thank you so much. So we are moving into an era now where we still actually are in what's called the longest continuous war. It's the global war on terrorism. And this is really important. This is not necessarily about September 11th. This is about what happened after September 11th, when our brave soldiers came to the call to protect this country. Actually, to go back and show everybody else, we were really pissed off at what happened. And that's what they did. So tonight we're going to reflect on those conflicts and events that were a turning point in our history. I think it's very important when we go to these events that you hear from someone in particular that was at the site. And you heard from Captain Jackson and Joe. I think you're going to be very, very pleased with our speaker tonight. I'm very honored to have him. Our speaker tonight is Shane Rio. Married to Tanya Rio, he lived in Attleboro for over 30 years and has raised two sons, Adam Shane and Justin Raymond Rio. Adam and his partner, Nora Purvis, have blessed them with a grandson, Xander Michael Rio. Shane is currently employed by Beals & Thomas, Inc., Land Surveying, as a senior field party chief. Shane enlisted into the Army National Guard with E Battery, TA 1st Battalion 101, 1st Field Artillery, as a field artillery surveyor in December of 1985. Attaining the rank of Sergeant First Class, he performed the duties of Survey Platoon Sergeant. From 1996 to 1997, he was deployed with the 1st 101st FA in support of Operation Joint Guard to Bosnia Herzegovina, tasked with battery survey and convoy operations throughout multinational division North, logging over 15,000 miles moving throughout the country. That's a lot of miles in a very dangerous place. In 1998, he was promoted to First Sergeant of E Battery and reassigned to C Battery, 101st Field Artillery, a gun battery of self-propelled 155 millimeter howitzers. From 206 to 207, he was reassigned to the Headquarters Battery 1st Battalion, 101st Field Artillery, to prepare and deploy to Iraq in support of Operation Iraqi Freedom, in lieu of military police personnel security detail, which a lot of our soldiers were sent to that kind of a mission. 207, he retired with 22 years of military service. Shane continues his service as the commander of the Veterans of Foreign War, Gilbert Perry Post 115 in Attleboro. He's also a member of the American Legion Post 112 Attleboro, and he is also a member and contributor to our Global War on Terrorism monument that hopefully, and I'm going to point it out right now, if you see those 3 boards, if you look across the field, eventually there will be a beautiful Global War on Terrorism monument standing there. And Shane and some of the other members that are here tonight were part of making that happen. So, Shane, please, if you would join me at the podium.
Thank you, Julie.
You're going to have to explain all those FAs.
Just not now, right? Is this microphone working? You guys hear it okay? Yeah, I'm here to talk about POW-MIA, but after listening to Captain Jackson and the good Charles being here, and Joe, my friend and fellow BFW member, I'd just like to say, as I was actually serving when 9/11 happened And within...
Just a little closer.
A little closer?
Yeah.
Okay. So we actually, there's one thing I remember with all the horror that went on was the fact that we moved down to training. We had a training weekend, and we moved down to the Cape as a convoy. And I've never seen so many people on bridges, at corners, waving flags and cheering for us in our Humvees. So, you know, the pain that the good Charles have felt, and the pain that Joe and Captain Jackson had to go through, the hardships, the one thing that came out of it was we as a nation and a country came together. And I will never, I'll never forget how moved I was when we all came together in those times. And people came from all over the country to help, including my grandfather, who drove across country from California and did whatever he could to help. He spent 3 months there and has since passed. But I just wanted to say that while being up here, I was very touched. So greetings, Senator Paul Feeney, Representative James Hawkins, Mayor Kathleen DeSimone, Attleboro City Council members, Veteran Agent Ben Quell. I really appreciate everything you do for us, Ben. Honored guests and fellow veterans. Thank you for joining us for this year's National POW Recognition Day, all of you. So on Wednesday of last week, I spoke to a young man in his 20s, and I asked him about POW-MIA because I was preparing for this. And he knew pretty much nothing about it. And I remember feeling disappointed, and not so shocked, but disappointed. And so I took a moment and I explained it to him. And I felt better when I was done because he told me, you know, how much it meant to him to learn about it, and he promised he'd learn more. So he was appreciative. And in retrospect, I thought back to when I became aware of the POW-MIA meaning, and it was in my 20s. So prior to that, I didn't know much about it. But it was my first Mass National Guard unit that I reported to after basic training in AIT, Advanced Individual Training. Much of the leadership were Vietnam veterans, to include my platoon sergeant, and they educated all new soldiers coming into the unit about the POW-MIA program. We were then asked if we would donate to the cause, and in return we received a stamped aluminum bracelet that we wore with pride. I have one on me right now. The bracelet had an MIA veteran, Vietnam veteran's name, rank, branch, service number, date, and where he was last seen in country. And when that service member was brought home, we were asked to return the bracelet, and the entire unit would conduct a ceremony of remembrance and welcome home for each veteran recovered. This bracelet that I have on was a Staff Sergeant Frederick T. Garside, United States Air Force 32361, Laos. He did come home, but I never gave up the bracelet. I kept it. And I was really, really happy to find it this weekend in one of the 5 military footlockers I have from my different vacations around the world. But having taken part in so many such ceremonies, I'm honored to be here today to remember the men and women who were prisoners of war and those who are still missing in action, those that have served and sacrificed to keep America free. And let us not forget the families of the missing who were forced to carry the pain of the loss and uncertainty as they continue to keep their hope burning. The lighting of this candle began with the families of more than 2,500 service members listed as prisoner of war or missing in action at the end of the Vietnam War. In 1979, the families were pressed for full accountability. The families actually pressed for full accountability. The government proclaimed the first National POW-MIA Recognition Day to acknowledge the families' concerns and symbolize the resolve of the American people to never forget. 3 years later, in 1982, the POW-MIA flag became the only flag other than the Stars and Stripes to fly over the White House. And on August 10th, 1990, Congress passed a law designating the POW-MIA flag as the symbol of our nation's concern and commitment to resolving as fully as possible the fates of Americans still prisoner, missing, and unaccounted for in Southeast Asia. Today, there are more than 81,000 Americans that are missing and unaccounted for, looking back to the beginning of World War II, which ended roughly 80 years ago. 1939, World War II claimed the lives of over 400,000 Americans, with 130,000 taken prisoner of war and 71,848 missing in action. 1950, Korean War. In the 3 years of bloody fighting, more than 35,000 Americans died, with 7,100 taken captive, and today 7,398 are still unaccounted for. 1955, the Vietnam War resulted in more than 58,000 Americans killed and almost 600 POWs, and more than 1,586 Americans still accounted for to this day. 1991, Persian Gulf War, Desert Storm claimed 383 American lives with 0 prisoners of war and 0 missing in action. 2001, the global war on terrorism, main theaters of Iraq and Afghanistan, more than 6,590 lives have been lost, 12 prisoners of war and 0 missing in action. As the GWOT continues, the global war on terrorism, prisoners of war, the numbers are ever changing as we confront terrorism both in the continental U.S. and around the world. We know that the true cost of war extends far beyond the battlefields. And thanks to our cherished families, the U.S. government, and the work done by the Defense POW-MIA Accounting Agency, the number of missing in action has been and continues to be reduced as their work continues around the globe. To paraphrase Ronald Reagan, we write no last chapters. We close no books. We put away no final memories. An end to America's involvement in Vietnam and all past wars cannot come before we have achieved the fullest possible accounting of those missing in action. So the importance of this day of remembrance touches all of us in different ways. As my heart aches for the pain of the loss for the mothers, the fathers, the brothers, the sisters, children, and comrades of those still missing and unaccounted for, I want you to know that patriotism, that your patriotism and commitment in being here does not go unnoticed to those now serving. For myself, back in 1997, knowing that my fellow service members, my family, and the United States government would not leave me nor my men behind, as we were exceptionally vulnerable, completing over 20,000 miles outside the wire in Bosnia. We were confident in our country, its citizens, which contributed to our successes in those days. So today, we gather here to pause and remember the sacrifices that have been and continue to be made on behalf of this great nation. The men and women who have worn the uniform and fought the battle are no strangers to the nature of sacrifice, as it could be said that our warriors, though home, still fight the unseen demons. So too are the prisoners of war. But we owe a special debt of respect and gratitude to those who were captured, deprived of their freedom, victimized by brutal tortures, and forced to combat not only their captors, but the temptation to yield to the self-pity and despair. Though the last shots may have been fired, for the missing in action families, the passage of time does not heal their wounds. We are all here to remember, show respect, and to honor the families who have been held in captivity and returned, as well as those who have yet to come home from past conflicts around the world. To the families of our heroes, thank you for your patriotism and courage in the face of uncertainty, and we appreciate all you have given to this country. I would also like to thank, before ending here, John Bouchard and Julie, the POW-MIA board, for the 26 years of bringing us together, and all of you that have taken the time to attend this solemn remembrance. By being here today, you are part of a global effort to bring recognition to this noble mission and to remind the families of this special category of brave patriots that they are not and never will be forgotten. God bless you all, our mission, their families, our veterans, service members, and the United States of America. Thank you.
Thank you, Shane. Thank you, Shane. I'd like to present you with a plaque that you so well deserve, being your second term as commander of the VFW here in Attleboro, being a part of the POW-MIA committee, and your long service to us. We thank you very much. Okay, we'll now start the candlelight ceremony. I know everybody's getting a little cool out here. The fall is here, isn't it? Can we have Gary Middleton come forward? Laura, you're handling the bell, and the Girl Scouts, if they would come to the table, that would be wonderful. Again, we're remembering the 39 Vietnam veterans from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts who are still missing in action. They're out there looking for them. We have teams out there looking for them, not only in Vietnam, Laos, Cambodia, but Korea and elsewhere. So thinking of our Massachusetts comrades, we remember Bruce R. Baxter.
Missing in action, sir.
Eugene P. Beresic.
Missing in action, sir.
Kenneth A. Berube.
Missing in action, sir.
Warren W. Bowles.
Missing in action, sir.
Russell P. Bott.
Missing in action, sir.
Deverton C. Cockring.
Missing in action, sir.
Joseph P. Dunn.
Missing in action, sir.
John S. Earl.
Missing in action, sir.
William D. Frowley.
Missing in action, sir.
Roger G. Goggin.
Missing in action, sir.
Richard C. Graves.
Missing in action, sir.
Joseph G. Greenleaf.
Missing in action, sir.
Richard K. Hopper.
Missing in action, sir.
Robert D. Hauer.
Missing in action, sir.
John R. Henn Jr.
Missing in action, sir.
Henry H. Herron Jr.
Missing in action, sir.
David H. Holmes.
Missing in action, sir.
Daniel M. Kelly.
Missing in action, sir.
Everett O. Kerr.
Missing in action, sir.
Paul C. King Jr.
Missing in action, sir.
Gerald F. Kinsman.
Missing in action, sir.
Michael J. Custigan.
Missing in action, sir.
John M. Lever Jr.
Missing in action, sir.
James A. Magnuson Jr.
Missing in action, sir.
Arthur V. McLaughlin Jr.
Missing in action, sir.
Charlton P. Miller Jr.
Missing in action, sir.
Richard G. Morin.
Missing in action, sir.
William F. Mullen.
Missing in action, sir.
John F. Overlock.
Missing in action, sir.
John R. Painter Jr.
Missing in action, sir.
Edward F. Rogers.
Missing in action, sir.
James J. Sansone.
Missing in action, sir.
William M. Smith.
Missing in action, sir.
Martin J. Sullivan.
Missing in action, sir.
Robert J. Todd.
Missing in action, sir.
Orrin J. Walker.
Missing in action, sir.
Monique Weitz.
Missing in action, sir.
And last but not least, Robert H. Gribb.
Missing in action, sir.
Thank you. I would be remiss if I didn't mention the names of the Attleboro men that were killed in Vietnam in action. We had Corporal Joseph E. Nimrosky, USMC. Captain Richard C. Glidden, U.S. Army. HM3, Robert E. Burns, U.S. Navy. Lance Corporal Gary F. Flynn, USMC. First Lieutenant Francis M. Driscoll, U.S. Air Force. Spec 4 Joseph E. Falado, U.S. Army. Lance Corporal Lawrence O. Woodson, USMC. Spec 5 Hubert D. Sutton, USA. May God rest their souls. Former prisoners of war, family members, elders, veterans, people who simply care. Each and every one a witness, each and every standing in silent vigil, holding a flickering candle that fights the darkness. And we wait, and we remember, and we will not forget. May God bless our prisoners of war that are missing in action and the victims of the attack on America, 9/11. May God grant peace, comfort, and strength to their families, and may God grant perseverance to those who wait.
Where's the clipboard still? So we have a tradition here, which is the reading of the ragged old flag. And it has traditionally been done by one of our beloved post members, past post members, Ray Oberg. To carry that torch forward, Walter Thibodeau of Post 312, American Legion Post 312, and the Attleboro Lions Club will render the reading of the ragged old flag. Walter, please.
Thank you, Colonel Hall. I walked through a county courthouse square, and on a park bench, an old man was sitting there. Respectfully, I said, "Your old courthouse is kind of run down." He said, "Nah, it'll do for our little town." I said, "Your old flagpole is leaned a little bit. And that's a ragged old flag you got a hanging on it." He said, "Have a seat." So I sat down. "Is this the first time you've ever been in our little town?" "Yes," I said, "I think it is." He said, "Well, I don't like to brag, but we're kind of proud of that ragged old flag. You see, we got a little hole in that flag there when Washington took it across the Delaware. It got powder burned the night Francis Scott Key sat watching while writing Say Can You See. It got a rip in New Orleans with Pakenham and Jackson tugging at its seams. And it almost fell at the Alamo beside the Texas flag. But she waved on through. She got cut with a sword at Chancellorsville, and she got cut again at Shiloh Hill. There was Robert E. Lee, Beauregard, and Bragg, and the south wind blew hard on that ragged old flag. On Flanders Field in World War I, she got a big hole from a Bertha gun. She turned blood red in World War II. She hung limp and low a time or two. She was in Korea and Vietnam. She went where she was sent by her Uncle Sam. Upon the briny foam, she's waved from our ships upon the briny foam, and now they're about quit waving back here at home. In her own good land, she's been abused, burned, dishonored, denied, and refused. And the government for which it stands has been scandalized throughout the land. And she's getting threadbare, and she's wearing thin, but she's in good shape for the shape she's in. 'Cause she's been through the fire before, and I believe she can take a whole lot more. So we raise her up every morning, and we bring her down slow every night. We don't let her touch the ground, and we fold her up right. On second thought, he said, I do like to brag, 'cause I'm mighty proud of that ragged old flag. Thank you.
All right. Reflecting on tonight's event, I'm brought back to when our committee had first formed. Some have passed, some have ceased their involvement. But for those who continue on in this endeavor, I salute you. You are true patriots. All of the sponsors over the years are incredible people with just too many names to say this evening. I salute you. You are true patriots. To the speakers over the years who have brought their knowledge and insight to share with us, I salute you. You are true patriots. To the people of Attleboro and the surrounding communities and beyond who have been here year after year to listen, to honor, and to share with family and friends, I salute you. The reason why freedom is never free, it may sound like a cliche, but believe me, the men and women who have served to preserve this precious nation understand quite well its meaning, as do the family members who have lost a loved one during one of our country's many trying times. When we pass our cemeteries and we see flags of those who shared their lives in the pursuit of freedom, also remember those shared their lives and served our country but have never been returned home to their rightful resting place and final closure for their families. Today is not like yesterday, nor tomorrow be like today. Our country is changing for the better or for the worse. It is up to you. Remember 9/11 in Shanksville and the words that will live on forever. Let's roll. The passengers stopped these terrorists at the cost of their own lives by taking charge of the situation that they were handed. We as the people must participate in our country's direction and its ideals and remain involved. We must vote our conscience in the coming elections. War or no war? Who will protect and defend our Constitution from the powers who seek to destroy it? Tonight we remember the past and came together to bring light on this subject. And America and its patriots will endure for the sake of our children and our grandchildren. In closing tonight, proudly we proclaim, we shall never forget. Thank you all for attending, and God bless America. Rifle Squad Commander, take charge.
So we want to thank our bagpiper, Rich McDonough. Thank you so much. That adds a special awesomeness and solemnness to this ceremony. At this point in time, I'd like to give the order. Honor Guard, retire the colors. Everybody please stand. I want to thank everybody. This was a long night, but I think a very nice night. This is the first time I think we've been here when it's been this dark. And if you could see what I see from here, it's just beautiful, watching all these candles and lights. Very, very nice. But on behalf of the Attleboro veterans, I'd like to thank you all for your considered support and respect for honoring our missing prisoners and for those that are still serving. Thank all of those that helped make this night possible. I'd like to thank my committee members, the POW-MIA September 11th Committee, for its continuous dedication to doing this every year. It is a special recognition, and we hope that you enjoy it. We try to make it different, a little bit different every year. Special thanks to Dave Forrest. Dave, thank you so much for helping us up tonight. And we want to thank you for being here to support our veterans also. This concludes the ceremony, and we hope that we'll see you all again next year. Thank you.